Okay, you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Let's do
So,
it.
welcome to Tree of Life. Today, our topic is Man on a Mission. And my guest today is Maurice Cohn, and he's going to share with you how the Lord is using him to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. You know that in the Bible, it talks about, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Welcome, Maurice. We're so glad that you're here today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So I just wanted, to tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Alrighty. Well, I hail from Florida, Orlando, and as 5 years ago, yesterday, I have been living in Texas, where
Okay.
I have really enjoyed myself.
Wonderful. So
So,
I've actually heard you say over the years, because I've known you for quite a while, that you are a man on a mission. And so that happened even before you went to Texas. So tell me, what do you mean by man on a mission?
well, um, man on a mission. That's a very deep question. Um, we wake up every day and we do pretty much the same thing day in and day out. And then, it comes a point in time where you just try to figure out what is my purpose.
Mhm.
And throughout that time, I've experienced a number of things. One, which was probably my most notable adventure, if you want to call it that, is when like a lot of other young men decide to do things that are not in their best interest, and I winded up finding myself in Department of Corrections. But that wasn't the end of the story. The knowledge that I had received prior to going there from my family and my church and stuff like that enabled me to minister to those who were behind prison walls with myself.
So it sounds like your mission started a while ago, early in your youth, and that you had an opportunity to be a witness in environments where maybe other people would not have had that opportunity. And so I know you mentioned 5 years ago that you decided that you were going to move to Texas. I actually remember having that conversation with you. And tell me, what kind of led you to making that decision? And the reason I asked the question, because we know in the Bible, the Lord led many people to different places. He, asked Abraham to leave his country and his family. Moses actually went out into the wilderness for a little while and was out there for a while. Then God led him back. We also know of, Saul, who was on his way to who knows where, and he got knocked off his donkey. And so the Lord kind of turned him around. So, what was your turning point that made you want to go or that led you on that mission to go to Texas?
Well, it was a general conference. I attended my first one in 2010, which I thoroughly enjoyed in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I had it in my heart that I was definitely going to be in attendance at the 2015. What I did not know is how much I would enjoy San Antonio when I got here. And after returning to Florida, I just was amazed at how much I really enjoyed the experience that I had. And something just said, "Oh, why don't you just move there?"
Mhm.
And I'm like, it felt like, that was, when we came here, it was like I found my new home. And so when I went back home, it was like, go ahead, just do it. And so I spoke with my boss and I told him, my thoughts. And he said, yeah, go ahead. Put in the transfer papers, and 3 months later, I was back.
Wow. 3 months from the time you went, you actually packed your bags, left Florida, went to Texas on a mission.
On a mission.
On a mission. So you really were a mission, a man on a mission on the move. And so tell me about that move. Now you talked to your boss. Tell me some of the ways the Lord opened the door for you for that mission that he had for you.
Well, pretty much it was he told to be patient and wait until a position became available, and then they would get me situated. In the meantime, I had met someone in Texas who um, was going to be assisting me with housing, transportation, and stuff like that. So that was a big part of uh, when I got here, that I was able to get right in with the program and, transition smoothly.
So you had a job when you got there. You were able to transfer from where you worked in Florida to Texas. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Centus Uniform Company, the same place that, if I remember correctly, you told me to go and look up in this area. And yeah, I got that job.
Awesome. So God had a job for you, a place to stay, and transportation. And with three
Yes,
months, you were packing your bags, getting on a plane, heading on a mission. And so you've been there, you said 5 years?
5 years is correct.
So what's been really the most challenging thing about making that big move? What's been the most
Well,
challenging?
in all honesty, I believe it's been very nice. However, when I have found out that when God makes a way, you need to make sure that you do things in order,
Okay.
you know. And so He allowed me to have someone in place to assist me. However, if you go messing up God's plans, work out for you, but it's just you're going to experience some stuff that was not necessary to experience.
Okay.
And however, as of this year, I am smooth sailing with the exception of this thing that is out there right now. But things are going great.
Good.
Couldn't be more happier.
So it was a faith walk, but you knew that God was leading you on a very special mission. And I like that you said that when God makes a way, he makes a way. Basically, what you're saying, we don't really need to tamper with the way that he's leading and guiding. And sometimes he actually will allow us to have someone assist us along the way on that mission, but then he wants them to move out of the way so that he can continue to fulfill the mission that he has for us. So we know there's a pandemic going on. We know that's one of the signs of the time that Jesus is soon to come. We know all of that. And so I know that, we've had some conversations about the mission that you are currently on and how God is using you every single day. I want to hear about that. And I think our audience wants to hear about it as well.
All right. Well, probably about maybe almost a year into my stay here in Texas. I had an apartment, and he asked me if he could move in with me. So there you have God going at it again. The rent just got cut in half, and along with the rest of the bills. And so, we had a good relationship. And he worked at the airport, American Airlines, and then it to me it was like, why have I never considered working at the airport? I love being around people. So I put in an application. Within a week, I was at two full-time jobs. I did that until I burned out. One was paying the bills and one I loved. Unfortunately, I had to let the one that I loved go because the other one was paying the bills. Fast forward to today, I work at the airport and it's paying the bills.
Wonderful.
I come in contact with people on a regular basis and I get to minister that way. Um, you have many people that you come in contact with that you never know the situation.
Right.
Some people, you ask them where they're going. Some people are going on vacation. Some people are moving here. Some people are going to bury family members, and it's always a blessing when you can connect with your passengers. And then at the end of the conversation, they tell you how much they enjoyed it, or better yet, to have, especially in this time that we're living in, people of a different uh, background tell you how much of an impact that you have had on them, and that they can see Christ working through you. I think that's the biggest compliment. Every day I wake up, I lay in bed, I pray, and I ask God to let me be a reflection. Let me be the mirror, for everybody else to see. I just want him to beam down his light. And I don't even want the glory. I don't want that. That's too big of a responsibility for me. You know, I want you to see God, not Maurice, because Maurice, he has not arrived yet.
Okay.
But
So it sounds
yeah,
like there's people who go from door to door passing out tracts. There's people who, in fact, your grandparents, those were that generation who went door to door, passing out tracts, going into different neighborhoods, and all good work, just spreading the gospel so that the end can come. There's some
mhm.
people who are in the pulpit, on Sabbath. And there are some people who do ministry in different ways, but it sounds like your job every single day that you have a congregation of people that you're ministering to. And it sounds like you are asking
This is
God to use you every day, and He provides those opportunities for you to witness. So, how does that make you feel?
well, it's good because as you mentioned, coming up, I mean, there were different ways of going in the community, or doing this or that, which I just particularly did not care for, because I, to me, that it was not for me, but being able to, just talk to these people and do like the Bible says, it says your actions, they will spell, I'm not the preacher guy, you know, I'm not this other person, I'm just, I can be me. And
So it sounds like with the way the Lord is using you right now, he actually tailor made the job for you to witness. He put you in the environment where he knew would be most comfortable for you. And when I think back, Maurice, you actually had a job at one time at the hospital doing transportation.
same
And
thing.
so yeah, so it's amazing how God laid the foundation. You were probably what, about 17
Yes, ma'am.
maybe?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he laid the foundation then in a hospital setting where people are sick and in need of words of hope and encouragement, and you were able to minister to those individuals. Now you're actually
Mhm.
in the airport setting where people are, like you said, either they're going on vacation, which is a joyous time, or maybe they're moving, which could be a mixed emotions time, or even they may be traveling to bury a loved one or to come, yeah, so, and that can be a sad time. So you're actually interfacing with people at different times in their lives where those emotions, if you can bring them hope, if you can bring them
Mhm.
joy, if you can point them to Jesus, the mind is much more open a lot of times, especially when they're in sorrow. They're looking for some answers, they're looking for some comfort, they're looking for some peace. And you are actually doing just that for those individuals, which I think is just an amazing gift from God. An amazing gift from God. So we talked about some of the challenges, and we were actually talking about some of the rewards of of you being in Texas. Now you're away from your family. There's no immediate family there, but you have, like you said, the young man that you met who worked at the airport. But you've made some friends, sounds like, while you've been out in Texas.
Yeah, yeah. I have about a handful, yeah, that have been very supportive. Of course, the one Kimberly, when she was a great source of support. Very very good person. My buddy Ray, he was the roommate that I was telling about, and he has been there. I can just call on whatever, and good guy. As you mentioned, Dennis, he's the pastor. He's also a pilot
Mhm.
at the airport. Do the math on that one, right? And the funny thing about it is he used to work for, I think it was United. However, uh, uh, with the Sabbath schedule, they wanted him to start options. So now he works 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off in St. Croix.
Wow. Mhm.
So he gets the vacation, if you will, every couple of weeks, and it's still a job.
Wow, it's almost like, look at God and how he makes provisions for us when we're doing his work. I like that you have met people, support systems while you were there. Tell me a little bit about, when the pandemic came about, there were some things that happened with your hours at the airport. There became some decision points that you were making right about the time when the pandemic hit. You began to make some decisions about many things, relocating, um, getting your own place, different things. And then just tell us a little bit about how, even though you were on a mission, tell me a little bit about that particular, how you were feeling about your calling out to Texas.
Okay, so we'll start at the beginning of the year when, in January, when I decided to make my break and start doing things on my own. However, the devil, he will try to snatch that rug from underneath you. And so I was looking to get an apartment, and the people said, "Oh, you don't make enough." And I told them I make tips. So they say, "Okay, we'll come back in a month. Just make regular deposits." I was like, "Okay." However, I had been sharing cards, debit cards. We used to use our cards interchangeably with this other person, and they had decided that they wanted to empty my bank account. And so I had to change bank accounts. It messed up the whole me depositing thing. And then that's when the pandemic struck. So, and then they cut my hours at work. I was working, what, 2 days a week, something like that. And so I needed to find me another place. So I found this rooming house, and things were drying up very quickly. And I told my mom, and I told you as well, that yeah, I might be headed back to Florida because getting all of that was going down. That's when they were talking about the stimulus checks and everything else, and it came right when I needed it. Literally, I was days away from hopping on a plane, and I mean like single digit number days. But God showed up and showed out like He always does, and I've been blessed to be in the neighborhood that I was living in. It was definitely not the best. And I'm in a different place right now, and the rent is cheaper, and the neighborhood is very nice. So,
Oh, praise the Lord for that. It sounds like you have had to walk by faith and not by sight,
oh,
because
that's
there's
correct.
times that God will ask us to make a move like you did in January. You were very convicted that that was the time that you needed to make that transition to
Hmm.
another location. And as you made the transition, initially it looked like things were going to be smooth sailing, but then again, there were glitches, but God continued to open the doors for you as he did. When you said, I'm going to have to, I think I may have to head back to Florida, but God has a special work for Maurice in Texas. And it's clear because every single day when you go to work, you
Oh yeah.
encounter someone whom you're able to encourage, someone who needs to see Jesus. And some people, you don't have to really speak of him, but you have to live a life like
Exactly.
him. When Jesus was here on earth, every single day, people were flocking behind him because they heard of his reputations. Now, I know you've told me a few stories about people who, when they come back through the airport, they're looking for you. They're
Yes, I've had, a few occasions, oh, they're excited, when they see me, um, other people, they tip differently, because of other encounters they've had with other people,
Mhm.
where they'll point out a person that they've seen before and tell me that person, they was like, okay, so this is for you, but yeah, I get people like that. And then, another thing I tell them about, when we're in conversation, they'll ask me what brought me to Texas, and I'll explain to them about the general conference. And then, their eyes light up, a lot of them, because they're Christians as well, and they like the fact that, what I'm doing, and that goes a long way. It breaks a lot of boundaries. Uh, for some people, we speak about Christ with, other people, you let the actions do the work, because some people, they don't want to hear anything about it, you know
Mhm.
but your actions, that trumps that.
Yes, yes. I remember in the book of Acts, just as Jesus was getting ready to go back to heaven, he told his disciples, and it was in Acts 1:8, but ye shall receive power. And after that, the Holy Ghost will come upon you and you will be my witnesses. And he began to name all the places where they will be witnesses. And when I think of that verse, Maurice, I think of what you are doing as being a witness. You are actually stationed in San Antonio, but you're seeing people from all around the world that are coming in your space, that is God is allowing you to cross their paths so that you can witness to them. And I think that's pretty cool because the disciples were probably thinking, how can we get to so many places
Mhm.
to spread the
Yeah.
gospel? And God has basically put you in a place where they're coming through and you are actually able to share the gospel with them. And I think that's pretty amazing the way God has done that. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
um, there was, I remember you were saying that, when things were getting kind of, scant with the money and getting tight, you talked about manna. Tell me the story about the manna that kind of God put in your heart of regarding the manna that he gave to the Israelites.
Yes, it started. It was 1 week. Well, it's been a few times, but I know 1 week in particular. I went on a Sunday, and things were dry, and people, they did not have money like that to tip, so they weren't. And anyway, I had a overabundance on that Sunday to start the week. Come to find out, I lived the rest of the week, and I knew why it was an overabundance, because the rest of the week was skinny pickings. But I told you about the whole manna deal because of how he did with the Israelites. He gave them a certain amount because he was not giving them stuff on Sabbath. And he did the same thing for me because he gave me enough to get through that dry patch.
Sure, sure. Maurice, I actually absolutely love that you shared your story of where God started you on the mission, which as a young man, he started you on the mission. But I take back to where you mentioned that you were actually ministering to the individuals who were incarcerated. And it reminds me of Joseph in the Bible, when he was actually among, his brothers actually put him in a situation, right?
Mm.
Involuntarily. And then God still allowed him to witness and to minister, and you have been able to do that. I think that's amazing when you just, what you're doing as a man on a mission is taking whatever situation you're in and you're taking the opportunity to minister and to
Yes.
witness. And then you're willing, because sometimes we say, oh, the Lord sent me here, or I'm here, and we don't take those opportunities to witness like God wants us to. What's exciting to me is that we know we're in the end time. It's an exciting time in history, a lot of anxiety among people, a lot of stress about what's going to happen next, but we know what's going to happen next. We know that already. But there's some people are feeling that they don't know what to do, what to say in this time. But I do believe that we should be saying something. So what advice would you give to someone who's not sure what their mission is right now?
Okay. Well, I'll put it like this here. I know it's just a little bit different, but I'm going to tell them the same thing that I found out a little while back. Actually, it goes back a few years. I had problems sleeping. I had insomnia. Just could not sleep. Could not sleep. I'd take uh, pills, try to go to sleep. Just I tried different methods that did not work. However, um, maybe what, a couple of months ago, I started, sleeping with the shirt over my face. That was helping a little bit, but not so much. And then so I started to do the one thing that I should have done from the get go. I started talking to God. I'm like, look here, man. We can't we can't have this. I can't be just up for days, and no, that's not gonna work. So I started trying to talk to God. And we know that, God wants us to talk to him. Especially if I'm waking up the same time every morning. If something is like reoccurring on a regular basis, stop and look at it. Ask some questions.
Mhm.
What's up? Talk to God. That's my main thing. Just talk to God. He'll talk back. In his own unique way to you.
Mhm.
And that's what I found out. That if you want to know God, you got to talk to
And when we start talking to him, he will direct our path. The Bible
him.
speaks about that. If we trust in the Lord with all of our heart and lean not to our own understanding, trying to understand what he's doing in our lives, that he promises that he will direct our path. And so for those of individuals who are not sure what their mission is, God has a mission and a plan and a purpose for all of us. I believe that. And I
Oh
believe
yeah.
if we do talk to God about it, he will talk to us in a language that we can understand. And that's basically what Maurice has shared with us, is that every time God speaks to him, it's in a language that he can understand and that he can relate to and that he's very responsive to. And so right now is really the time that Christians really should be alert. We should be on the wall. We should have our armor on. We should be sounding the alarm that Jesus is soon to come. And each of us can do it in our own unique way. There's not only one way to do it, there's many ways to do it. Noah was building the ark and preaching at the same time, you know, and that was a gift that God gave for him to do. Moses was out by the burning bush and he told him to go, and that's how he spoke to Moses. So he speaks in the language that he knows that we can understand. Maurice, any other final thoughts that you like to give? I appreciate you, talking about your mission that God has had you on. I'm sure we'll have more conversations, but is there any last thoughts you would like to give to our audience today?
No, just you know, uh, just talk to God. I mean, that's the only way. I mean, like I said, I mean, my sleeping with the insomnia, that just uh, I've not had more peaceful rest in my life. I mean, at this point in my life, I'm just looking to see what's coming next, because you know that peace is only going to last for so long. I mean, now granted, I mean, I don't know. I know the devil don't like peace. How about that? So I'm enjoying this peace right now, but I already know I got some serious trials coming up because
You're protected. God has protected you. He has shielded you. We've
oh yeah,
all of us have seen it over and over again, but I think the most important thing is you say, talk to God about it.
talk to
Know that you have a mission Um, set goals in your life. You can set spiritual goals, you can set professional goals, you can set academic goals, you can set work goals. One of the things that I've heard you say, Maurice, is this is not even like work. When you go to work, it doesn't even feel like work.
Not work.
Yeah. So they're paying him to witness. They're paying him to do what he absolutely loves doing. And
Can it get any better?
can't get any better. And so he's actually in a place. I remember you telling me that when you first went to the airport, and that's been almost 5 years ago, probably 4 years ago, how much you enjoyed that job and how much you would have loved to have done it full time had it been just a little different. And now God has heard the giving you the desires of your heart. Because that was the desires of your heart, that would be your primary job. And I
Hmm.
think, many times we look for jobs for money, but I would say look for jobs for the mission.
Hmm.
Look for the jobs that God gives you so that you can fulfill the mission of going into all the world, preaching the gospel to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people so that the end can come. And I think that's really what we need to think about in these last days that we're living in. It's not about the money, it's about the mission. It's not about the work, it's about the witnessing. It's not really about, our time, it's about our testimony. And so if you share your testimony, Maurice, to those passengers that you come in contact with, I'm gonna call them your congregation.
Okay.
If you share your testimony to them, you're giving the testimony of Jesus Christ. And when they can see Christ in you, that will lead them closer to Christ. And that's what it's all about. With Tree of Life, our goal is to connect people to Christ through the stories that we tell, through the resources that we offer, through the health message that we will give, is connecting people to Christ through all of those methods. I want to thank you again, Maurice, for taking time to talk with me. It is my prayer, audience, that today what you have heard is about every one of us have a mission. That would be my number one. Number two, if you're not sure what that mission is, pray. God will tell you directly in his own way what your mission is. And number three, when he gives you the mission, get to work. Do it joyfully. Do it with joy and happiness and gladness, knowing that the lives that you touch today may be the lives that will actually be able to spend eternity with God tomorrow. Thank you again for watching Tree of Life. Till next time, be blessed. Go spread the message of the gospel of Christ's soon return.